Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Long Island Matchmaker with the wonderful, the only Maureen Tara Nelson. Hello, Maureen. Welcome to your show.
Hello, Todd. I'm so excited to have the big guns here. Todd Shapiro this week.
Listen, I'm very, very excited to be a host on this show, and
Yay.
It's a great opportunity for me to learn a little more about this, finding love. And love is a very hard thing to find, but thank God somebody like you is out there providing the services that you do throughout Long Island, in Florida, in New York City, and pretty much anywhere else that needs help. Not only are you a love matcher, but you also help with relationships. You put things together. You help heal things. Hundreds, and if not thousands of people in the past, how many years?
20 years.
Is this your anniversary?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yes.
So how did you start becoming Maureen the matchmaker?
I looked back at it, and it just was something that I knew I had to do and was going to do without, worrying about a thing. Looking back now, I can't believe I wasn't worried more, why I never thought things like, what if I don't make it? Or, I didn't have any what ifs. I just knew it was me. So thank God for that.
Well, you know what? You've done a lot of great things helping people.
Thank you.
So let's say, things don't work out at home. I'm looking for love, and I need a matchmaker. What number would I call?
1-888-31-MATCH. But Todd, it sounds like you have COVID. Did you come here sick with COVID?
I don't have COVID. I got tested for COVID.
Okay.
100% don't have COVID. I guarantee you I don't have COVID.
I'm teasing.
But I could tell you this. Sometimes people lose their voice, and unfortunately, in a radio show, and lose your voice.
Right.
You can't see it, but you can hear it. So.
When I got COVID, it was before that we knew on Long Island and New York and here that we had COVID. It was in February. I mean, we found out later that there were cases here. But at that time, they just told me I had pneumonia. It was that I did the grand opening of the Boca office, and I flew home here. I got pneumonia, what I thought. The doctor said, I think you have this thing called COVID that is coming here. And sure enough, a couple of weeks later, they did the test, and I had the antibodies. But that was the first sign, and I'm teasing you about if you haven't.
No,
I've been
definitely. I've been vaccinated.
But just by coincidence, I lost my voice. That was the first thing.
Thank you, but I'm 100% sure. I literally got a test this morning.
All right, I'm only teasing.
So anyway, we're here today. We also brought a specimen with us. A specimen. Somebody who's actually gone on dates.
Yes, the hottest guy ever.
He goes out.
I can't keep my hands off him.
He's on the dating scene. He's like, he's like Gene, the dating machine, but his real name is Matthew. He lives on Long Island. He's looking for that special somebody. Maybe it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Someone hears it. They want to call Maureen.
Yep.
Find this great guy. He has a great job. He's handsome. He's good looking.
Couldn't be better.
He has money. Did I mention money?
Well, he's in our celebrity program, so that's why it has to be private, but we could say enough about him, ladies, that you would want to meet him.
Because he has money.
And because he's gorgeous and smart and successful and a really nice person.
So, Matthew, you're
Thanks,
out
Maureen.
there.
I have a question, Maureen, about about your business.
Yes.
20 years is a long time. Things were a lot different 20 years ago.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
With COVID, which we've already talked about, and also like all these online dating sites, dating scams that we've also spoken about on past shows.
Yeah.
Would you start your business today from scratch like you did 20 years ago, given all of these circumstances?
I definitely would, and even with more conviction, because I've seen how COVID has made things harder for people in dating. I kind of was just the type of person, I'm not afraid to take chances. And I just said to my family, I'm giving up pharmaceuticals, going into a dating service that's starting on Long Island. They all thought I was insane. But the Maureen as of now would say it is way too dangerous to do online dating. I have to do something to help. I have the knowledge, thankfully, as a pharmaceutical rep. I have to put this knowledge to good use and help people. That is a really good question, Matthew.
So, Matthew, tell us a little more about yourself. What are you looking for in a woman?
What am I looking for? I'm really looking for, at this point in life, someone to really be a best friend, someone to share things with and be able to communicate with. And a lot of things I wasn't as good at as I, when I was younger. Let's say those are qualities I look for now. I think first, because if you
Piece of
can't be a
cake.
friend, then you
Right.
can't really be much else.
So
Yes.
do you find that going to these websites and stuff looking for that special somebody, that you find a lot of catfish or different things that aren't,
Were you ghosted?
Well,
you're horrified?
not horrified. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with that stuff. I've heard stories about catfishing and so forth.
Right.
Not necessarily for me.
What is
but-
catfish, by the way?
That's when someone pretends that they're someone else. And, you have this online relationship with someone thinking, say, it's a hot 30-year-old that wants a man 50, and, she says she's this and she's that, and you start developing feelings for her, and it's not her. It's either a guy trying to scam you or her mother who wants a date that, thinks, oh, if he meets me, he won't mind that I'm really his
So
age.
let's say you have these questions and you're confused. You're lonely.
Yeah.
You want love. You want to find that special somebody to put a little jolt in your life. How would I get in contact with you, Maureen Tara Nelson, the matchmaker? What is your phone number? What is your website? Who are you?
I like when everyone goes to the website first, MTNMatchmaking.com, because, after 20 years, when people call up, I don't feel comfortable selling myself or saying, I did this, I did that. And if I'm not in an appointment, I try my best to pick up the phones myself rather than my team. So, it's good when someone looks at the website so they know about me firsthand, that we really are. I'm so blessed by God that we are the only real professional matchmaking service on Long Island. So if you're looking, to meet with someone that's the owner, because that's what I would do. If I were joining or doing any sort of business, I always want to meet with the owner.
What's that famous matchmaker song I used to always hear when I was a kid?
Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Fiddler on the Roof.
I thought it was We Will Rock You. I don't know. I always screwed up with these kind of things. I was never like...
Similar
No.
beat.
I didn't really know a lot about music, but,
Yes.
Anyway, so let's get back to our specimen over here. So you're out there.
Gorgeous Matt.
So, Matt, you go on these dates, right?
Right.
Do you ever find yourself... I remember going on dating before I met that special somebody. What happens if a woman orders too many drinks? Is it a turnoff? Can you go broke before the evening's over? Do you look for an escape plan? I mean, it's rough. You go to some place, $30 a drink.
Right.
Someone orders 6 drinks,
Right.
6 times.
Our ladies would never do
It
that.
could be a $600 dinner.
Right.
Do you run for the hills? You say, I'm going to the bathroom and run away?
And don't come back.
I think going back to what Maureen's doing now versus, let's say, what the situation was 20 years ago, I think, catfishing and it's basically a case of someone not being who they say they
Yes,
are.
right.
And that can be an online profile, or it can be someone in the flesh. It's sort of, it's really on the person to be smart and be aware.
Yes.
Of when they're potentially being scammed. It may look obvious to some, not so obvious to others.
Right.
So you really kind of have to have your antenna up and see.
Right.
So if somebody's, running up a big bar tab, and then it looks like that's just the reason that they're with you.
Right.
Or it's
They want a
something
free
online
dinner.
where someone's asking you for,
Money.
I've heard stories,
Yes.
money, airline
Yes.
tickets,
I've heard it all.
fly me into the United
And
States.
it happens
and
to both
marry me.
men and
I'll
women.
never forget. I met this reporter from Inside Edition. I don't want to mention her name. She's not there no more. And I'm like, hey, we need to go out.
We have our
And-
initials.
No, but so anyway, I'm like, hey, how are you? She's like, oh, it's great. She goes, you know what? I go, look at that jacket. She goes, I love that jacket. It's so beautiful. Someone was wearing. Next thing I know, I go, we should go out some. She goes, I'd love that. I get a phone call from a week later. Hey, I'm in front of the store. Can I get your credit card? I'm like, what are you talking about, my credit card?
Yeah, I
Here's a
believe
girl
it.
I never went on a
Yes,
date with.
I know.
Wanted my credit card
Yep.
to buy her some jacket that was like $600. Now, to me, the money wasn't as much as an issue.
Right. It's the
as
point.
just a point of you have to
Yes.
pay somebody for their affection.
Right.
Right.
And you
It's-
know what? It shouldn't be like
Right.
that. I mean, today, there's so many good, wonderful people out there.
There are.
If I didn't find Maureen Tara Nelson, I never would have been
Yep.
in love.
And you were a challenge, I have to say.
I went out with everybody. I went out with the tough, It's like the Billy Joel songs, I I hung out with, whatever crowd it was.
Yep.
But,
But through dating coaching.
I remember taking a girl that I really didn't like. I met her, and I'm like, oh, my God. I took her to the Price Club. I took her on a date to a Price Club. Can you imagine?
Not my girl, right?
No, not the one you would ever. It was like, when someone pushes you to go out with somebody, pushes you don't want to go out with them. But you got to go out with that person because they said, do me a favor, go out with my sister. Please go out with my sister.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, fine. I need to get some. So I took her to the Price Club. They gave out the free samples. At that point, I knew I was never going out with her again. But then I fell in love with their cousin. That was my first wife.
Wow.
But that didn't last too long either. Anyway, because, you know why? Because I didn't go to you at the time.
Well, here
so
we
my
specialize.
Second wife, you got me.
Yes. Because everybody knows you have to be attracted to one another, and that's chemistry. People don't need me for chemistry, and I do tend to have the best-looking singles on Long Island and New York. But the compatibility takes everyone, no matter who you are, 6 months on your own to find out if you're compatible. Statistically, you probably aren't going to be, just because of all the dynamics of the world. Here, think of it as when you're in college, and it's so easy to find someone great in college. For everyone, that's because we were typically always compatible.
I got a list of questions here. Number one, is it wrong to kiss on the first date?
If you have chemistry, you can kiss on the first date.
Matthew, yes. Matthew's okay then.
Yeah.
You can kiss on the first date.
You can,
but
yes.
not all the time. So we're not encouraging people that hear this to start making out with people right away. We're just saying, if you're out there right now, it's okay, but it got to be mutual, right?
It has to be mutual.
I don't think
You have
Governor
to pick
Cuomo
up.
found that out too much. That's something else, yeah.
Yes.
We don't know that for sure. We're only reading about it.
Really, I have to take back something that, remember, I said about a month ago that I didn't think I could pay people now to go out with him. However, I have to say, he has die-hard fans. That these ladies that are in my program that voted him best looking just only last year, they would go out with him in 2 seconds right now. They don't care.
It's crazy. Some people like people that are tough, and some people go out with gangsters. They could kill someone. They could murder somebody.
I love the mob.
It's kind of cool, Hey, you watch Sopranos,
I love it.
He's killing somebody, shooting somebody. Hey, let's go out to dinner. I'll meet you at 10 o'clock.
I would be the best mafia wife ever. I just couldn't know anything about it.
I used to date years ago. You ever watch Sopranos? I dated Oksana Lada. She was the Russian girl that dated him for 4 seasons. Oh. And at the end, I got invited to go to the last episode party. It was amazing down in at the casino. They paid each cast member like $1 million to come down. It was wild.
One of my celebrity clients, all what I could say was in The Sopranos. That's all I could say. And because no one knows who's in my celebrity program, I am so cautious with the privacy that one of my sons works for me. He is a professional model.
Well, I met that one singer, Living in a Dream, that you told me about. No, I'm joking.
So my son works for a professional modeling service in the city agency, but he also works full-time as my social media manager. My PR guy doesn't know my celebrities. Even my son doesn't know the celebrities in my program because I could never take a chance on someone going out, having a couple of drinks, and innocently saying to someone, hey, look, this is a really big secret. Just don't tell anyone who is at MTN Matchmaking. Nothing is ever going to make me break that bond.
I got another question for you.
And it's all in my vault.
Maureen, I got a very important question.
Yes.
So what's the phone number to call you? Let's say I want to get a date, but it's not a date. I'm looking for a service. I'm looking for love.
Committed relationship or marriage.
Date, you tell me no if you're married. But that's besides the point. But if
He's joking, ladies. He's joking.
But if you go through the service and you do things right, you could find love, or possibly at least be introduced to somebody like Matthew did. Matthew met some really wonderful women.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us, what is that phone number and website?
I actually have 3 phone numbers, but...
Tell us all 3.
516-444-2861. Or say you live in Suffolk, 631-577-7940. Or say beforehand, years ago, when people had to pay for phone calls, I had to have a free number, 1-888-31-MATCH. And I did that 17 years ago when I opened up my own business, because I've been doing this 20 years, but I started off with someone else first to learn the business.
What if somebody's really, really tall or shorter than you? Does that become a turnoff to some people?
Okay,
I mean, somebody who's like 4 or 5 inches,
okay,
like, you know.
That's a great question because it just happened yesterday. One of the girls
Matthew,
I
is that
just...
you?
No.
Matthew is tall, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But there are girls, and the girl I was with yesterday, she's fabulous, but I almost, and she knows this, I almost didn't take her because she was so stuck on the height. And I said, if you're a woman and you're 5'10", yes, you could ask me for 6 foot. But if you're walking in at 5'4", I don't want to hear one of your 5 must-haves or a 6-foot guy. I don't want to work with that particular person because that just says a lot about their value system and so on. There's a whole bunch of dynamics and psychology behind when a person tells me what their 5 must-haves are. And I don't just take in everyone. So if someone comes in and what they're saying to me doesn't make me feel good inside that I would make them successful, or if I think it'll be too hard to make successful, I'm not taking them on.
So helping people with their relationships, it takes time. So I have a question as far as what you're dealing with now, your clients, and coming off of a lockdown pandemic. Are you getting a lot of people who are asking you to do things more quickly, or seem to be guys and girls into more of a rush to get involved than in the past because they've been staying home on the couch or
Great question.
haven't been active for so long?
You know what? I don't know if I would say that they're more in a rush, but what I will say is, over the years, my mentor taught me this, that single people tend to be procrastinators when it comes to their love life. For example, they might know about my service, they've seen the commercial, they've seen me on something, and they'll just store it in the back of their minds until a point where they think, all right, I have to meet someone now, and then they call. Then the pandemic hit, and people were alone, and people couldn't do things, and they got lonely. Then the calls started coming in, I don't want to die alone. So now what I've noticed is, I don't know if it's that people are more in a rush. I think they're just not being procrastinators anymore. They realize, oh my God, life is so short. I'm not going to waste time now. I'm not going to put the money towards joining a program to find love on redoing my kitchen. I'm going to find the man or the woman first, then I'll worry about my kitchen. And it's such a beautiful thing for me because, I have the clients already. They're here. They're waiting to meet someone. So now that everyone's more motivated to find love, I could do this in my sleep at this point.
People have adjusted their priorities,
yes,
and finding love is one of their top priorities now.
If finding love is your number one priority, then we're a perfect match.
So it's giving you business, but in a good way.
In a very good, happy way. Yes.
So could you be hired? Like me and Adam are watching that show Hitched with Will Smith.
Oh, your friend Adam. Yeah.
When I was watching with him, he said to me, he goes, "This is great. You got a love coach that teaches you how to go out there and find somebody." Do you do that kind of service too and teach people how to go out there and look for that special somebody? But is that included as part of the package?
Well, it's a little bit different. I do the dating coaching based upon them with my own clients.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Would you give that kind of service and help them?
Oh, I do.
Because it has
but
to be,
not about meeting strangers.
No,
because,
but about therapy, about different things. If you
of course.
The show, it was really a great show. I mean,
yes.
It was good. The guy, started off and fell in love, and then he went through challenges till he found who he wanted.
Because if people are making mistakes, I could definitely help them with the mistakes. But the reason why it's so hard for people to find love nowadays, or forever, is because it's just something that you can't control who you're going to meet and where you're going to meet them. But by coming to any matchmaker, you're given the control of who you're going to meet because they have the people there.
Now, do you think, I got one question for you.
Just one?
Is snoring a turn-off to women?
Yes. Get a second room.
I wasn't sure. I thought, it's kind of acceptable.
I'm all for sleeping in separate bedrooms if and after the business is done. And you just both want to have a great night's sleep after cuddling, say for an hour after.
An hour?
Fine. All right, 15 minutes, whatever. I'm not much of a cuddler, so 15 minutes done. Bedtime.
Anyway, so let's say Matthew, what is the worst experience you've ever had on a date?
The worst, there've been enough, but I mean, I've had plans to go somewhere, and basically the person, like we were saying before, the person was not who they said they were. They didn't look like they were, and were nothing like sort of as advertised.
Right.
So it became like, who am I sitting here with?
And that person's a liar.
How about Maureen? What was your, and back then when you were single, what was the worst experience you ever had on a date?
Okay, so when I first got divorced, I was starting in the industry of matchmaking, and I recommend to everyone when you're young, because I was, say, 30 at the time. So it's good to have a wild side for a little bit, especially if you grew up Irish Catholic and had a strict mother before you got married and couldn't have a lot of fun. So I recommend doing that. So obviously, I had a lot of fun experiences the first 3 years after getting divorced.
Did you go to Uncle Sam's?
Yes, Spit, Uncle Sam's, of course. Loved it there. But so I had a lot of really funny experiences because at that time I worked for the first company dating service that came to Long Island. And at that time I dated through there. I dated through the internet, which was crazy. I dated from the bar scene, which was crazy, and through friends, which was uncomfortable. So, and it was okay at that point because I wasn't looking for a committed relationship and I wasn't a client. Okay, so I guess my thing that stands out to me is I'm very big on, I learned all about, as a pharmaceutical rep, controlling behavior and narcissism, and that's what led me into matchmaking. Most people know my story, and they know I'm a matchmaker, so no one will ever have to go through what I went through because I learned all about that. So I was out on a date with a guy, and I had just met him. He was driving me to the restaurant, and I hear him on the phone with his ex-wife talking so abusively. And he was not only controlling, but when he hung up the phone and described her, he was a total narcissist. Oh. So here I am going to a restaurant with this guy that I'm like thinking, get me out of the car. So I get to the restaurant. I call up my bodyguard brother, my former police lieutenant who comes to my events with me.
I love that guy, by the way.
And I'm like, you got to come pick me up. And so sure enough, we're at the restaurant. The guy's there. He doesn't know anything. And all of a sudden, my brother shows up. And I said, yeah, I'm sorry, this isn't going to work. And he's like, what? I drove you here. I got to drive you home. I'm like, no, you don't. And he turns around and he sees my brother. So
thank God for Uber today, huh?
Yes. But for someone that doesn't have a retired police lieutenant, definitely Uber.
So let's say you want to find that perfect loved one. Let's say you need to make a phone call, you put a few deals together. Can you introduce that person to someone and find?
They have to pass the screening process. No felony record. They have to be positive. This morning, I disqualified someone. They weren't positive. I'm not going to deal with someone who's negative. Then they have to be emotionally stable so they know what they want. They have to be financially stable.
Financially stable.
I don't want gold diggers.
All right.
I mean, Matt, you had your fill of gold diggers on the internet. That's why you said you came to me. You were so sick of those gold diggers. Here, both parties pay. And then lastly, everyone's looking for a committed relationship. So I don't take on everyone. But if they pass that screening process, then they'll do great if I take them on.
I find it interesting that you had to, in your life, you were suddenly single, and yet that was the point that you started to come into this business.
Yes.
Well, two things. One, are most matchmakers married, and does that make your situation or your situation in the past beneficial, being single and being a matchmaker, or being out of the loop and being a matchmaker?
I think what Adam wants to know is if they wind up dating the matchmaker, they get a refund.
My situation is very unique because I know what it's like to be married. I know what it's like to be divorced. I know what it's like to be single and looking. I also know what it's like to be dating a few people at a time until you're looking to find the right person. So in my experience, I'm very fortunate because no matter who comes in to my service, chances are I've gone through what they've gone through, not only from a professional standpoint, but on a personal level too.
So listen, we're almost wrapping up here. I have a lot of questions for you. I could go on forever and ever and ever. and Matt here, forget it. He's gonna be a client for the next 10 years. I think the way he's going.
No, I'd give 6 to 9 months it'll take me.
Wow. I'm going to Matt's wedding. Anyway, so what is your phone number? What is your website? How can I get in touch with the wonderful Maureen Tara Nelson as we conclude the Long Island Matchmaker radio program on an early Sunday morning?
1-888-31-MATCH. And if you can say you heard me on the radio, I'll even give you a special discount because we love KJOY.
I want to thank one person, too. I want to thank Stu Schrager, who for his
Stu's
countless
the
time
best.
of putting this thing in here and really being,
Yes.
I met him years ago. Me and Stu went to a singles event, right? And we were like, we had to go to this bachelor auction. And I think they bid $3 for you, Stu.
You might be overstating that.
But it was a great experience. I think, Stu was the number one, whatever. I wouldn't do that. I took $200 in my hand. I gave it to some woman. I said, here, I want you to bid for me so I don't get stuck with some loser. True story, right, Stu?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Stu, you're the best. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next week, and have a great week.